And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge, where we talk about firearms, freedom, and fun. I'm Johnny B from the YouTube. Glad you're here. However you found us, wherever you're watching or listening to us, thank you for being a part of this. I'm joined, of course, with Jared of Guns and Gadgets. I'm not asking you why. I'm asking you what. One gun for the zombie apocalypse. One gun. What is it? Not why. What?
I want any full auto heavy machine gun with a ton of ammo.
We're going to open up with belt fed. Same question. Anthony, the arm squat, the arm
Squaller.
He's a fighter. He is a quite the linguist as well. We love him. Anthony out in California. I'm not asking you why. I'm asking you what. Zombie apocalypse is here. What are you taking into the squalor apocalypse?
Give me like a 13-inch AR full auto also. 13.
We got full auto, dropping full auto. Today was just three guys hanging out. We talk about firearms. We talk about fun. We talk about freedom, a lot of different issues. So before we pressed record, we were just talking about our own lives and what works with us, what works in a home, what works in a apartment, what works on a large piece of property. Jared, things are scary. They really are. Looking at the news, things are really scary right now. People are feeling the pinch. People are feeling like you saw that thing in Pittsburgh where the cops are like, hey, good luck. You're on your own at nighttime now. That's in Pittsburgh. For you and your family, you live in, not to get specific, but you live in a neighborhood. Where's your mindset as you think about nighttime?
I have my night vision set up next to the bed. In fact, I used it a couple nights ago. We had a person in the neighborhood going door to door at like 9 p.m. in the middle of a pouring rainstorm, asking to use people's phones. And in my neighborhood, as you know, like that ain't right. That ain't right. So we have a group text, which I suggest everybody does this. If you're in a neighborhood, get to know your neighbors. And we have like a neighborhood watch. Everybody texts any issue we see so that everybody's aware of it. So as soon as that came out, it was down the end of the street, down the bottom of the hill. I threw on my night vision helmet and jumped in the truck and went dark. And I found him easy. I threw my thermal on and I found him easy. And, I went in and identified what he was wearing. And other people called the police, as y'all say it down here. And they were able to address the young man. But for me, night vision helmet I have one tube is my night vision tube. Other tube is thermal. I have my helmet. I have a rifle, a pistol, all that stuff within arm's reach. So if something goes bump in the night, I'm bumping back.
What was, just out of curiosity, because we haven't talked about this. I knew it happened. We haven't talked about it. What was going on with that kid? Why was he doing that? What's your take?
Well, he was claiming that girl dropped him off, like told him to get out of the car at the end of our street, which is a cul-de-sac. But nobody saw the car. I mean, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But he just said he needed a ride. But that was all. Everything that he was saying to people in my previous life was kind of congruent with possible casing. So we got eyes on target quick.
Congruent, very fancy word. Speaking of fancy word, Anthony, the armed squalor. Anthony, I've never been to visit you. I don't want to get specific, but you live in a home. Is that right? Is it a single unit home? Where do you live?
I live in a box. I live in a box.
You live in a box down by the river.
Yeah.
How do you think about nighttime in your world?
So it's changed a little bit too, because we just changed homes, and that was an interesting transition because we had a lot of the stuff over at the little house, and it's that interesting transition of like now getting all the other stuff over there, and the systems you have set up, in your traditional place now has to shift over there. But usually what I have is I'll have an AR bedside, and then just my carry gun which is usually just a Glock 19 that goes on the nightstand as well. All of my 19 and my rifles and everything, they always have lights on them. I don't have nods just sitting next to my bedside like Jared. I do have my helmet, my nods, and all that stuff's back there. My body armor's back there.
Step your game up.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Me and Jared actually, we went on the nods and all that journey at the same time, and so we were talking back and forth during that whole process. And it's funny because now you have a thermal tube. I just have a single tube PVS 14 white Foss, and did all that setup. And I have some training courses coming up where I'm going to do some low light stuff and some night vision. But yeah, usually it's just an AR that's in the rotation that's kind of out and about. I don't have any kids, so I have a little bit more leeway about how I my function on my day to day. But usually I'll have one rifle that's kind of in rotation that's out. That'll go bedside every single night, along with my 19 that goes bedside. And I probably should move like soft body armor over to the bed, but I mean, I don't know. I know some people do, body armor and belt, but my thought is when things go bump the night, I'm not gonna be like, okay, let me put on my body armor and my belt. Usually it's gonna be like, grab my rifle, what's going on is kind of my mindset. And which has happened plenty of times like at night. I'm sure you guys have experienced too when something weird goes on, or you just wake up in a fever dream randomly at night because you thought you heard something and you just grab your AR and you start cleaning your home because you thought someone was in your house. I mean, that's happened plenty of times to me.
Yeah, I grab the vacuum rag. I hear somebody and I start cleaning the home totally. Grab the vacuum, grab some dust mops. I make it happen. Friend of mine the other day it's a friend of ours, got really upset at me. We were having a cigar the other night with some buddies, and he was asking me about armor. And I was like, yeah, I've got it, but it's kind of like over there behind a thing and I can access it. And he got twitchy. Like he's like, dude, you got to throw your armor on first thing. And I think what's a challenge for me, y'all tell me if y'all have seen this as well. So many guys, they get a little box. This is how you do it. This is how you protect a car. This is how you protect your life. This is how you protect at night. This is how you protect in the day. And anything outside of that box, they get friggin' twitchy about it. And I'm telling you, what works in Wyoming on a ranch doesn't work in a neighborhood in East Tennessee or in a single unit home in California. But Jared, you seen guys get that twitchy over specific tactics?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They will, prescribe and subscribe to whatever, you know, training style that they think is best. If say John Lovell says you do it this way, the people who follow John Lovell to a T will do it only that way, and any other way is
But there's
wrong.
something to be said for that because a lot of folks are like, just freaking tell me what to do and I'll do it. Like they don't want to go rediscover the egg or reinvent the wheel or whatever it is. Just tell me what to do, John Level, and I'll do it. Is there something to be said for that for a person brand new into this world of like, taking on the responsibility of protection for yourself your first year, 2 years, 3 years, five? Just tell me, just John Level. Is there value in that though?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you put those to practice regularly, you have to train. Just because you watch a course by whoever doesn't mean you're going to be proficient at it. Especially when your heart rate is elevated, you're woken in the middle of the night, you don't have your night vision, your actual night vision on your eyeballs regulated yet. There's a lot of things that people don't think about. So to say, you need to put your plate carrier on first. Sometimes that ain't going to happen. If somebody's actually in your home, a room away, you need to take action immediately. If somebody is down the end of the road and you have time to get geared up, then you do that. But it's different strokes for different folks.
Tell me about non-lethal. We love because you and I we're gearheads. Anthony, you're a gearhead. When we're alone or hanging out, off camera, we talk gear nonstop. Anthony, you're in a whole gear world right now where you're having a good time. I am also, and you got a new toy. I saw it on Instagram yesterday.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Am I jealous? The answer is yes. So we love gear, but I think we overlook basic things so often. The number one cause of house fire is dryer lint. We are all more likely to die in a fire than we are in a firefight. So I think we skew too, and I love it, but I think we skew too far into guns, don't you?
Yeah, and that's part of the problem we all have.
It's the addiction we have.
Yeah, but like my wife is she cleans out the dryer traps all the time. And we were in our old home in Massachusetts. I used to stick a leaf blower in it and blow it out and make it rain. But yeah, there are other things that you should focus on that are more of a risk to your everyday life.
Example.
Do you have a fire extinguisher where there's going to be something that you're cooking with, or has a spark, or has fire to it? Do you drain your hot water heater twice a year, where you're not going to have it crack in the middle of the night and cause a flood in your basement or wherever it is? There are other things that we just don't think of that will probably happen more than the boogeyman coming in to try to rob you.
Anthony, where are
Yeah.
you at with trying to like not die in other ways? Because we love preparing for a firefight.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that stuff that Jared mentioned. Like maybe instead of buying a bunch of gear, look at the realistic scenarios that could happen. If you don't have multiple fire extinguishers in your home, maybe you should not buy some gear and get some fire extinguishers and put them around your house. I have multiple. I have some in the kitchen, in the garage. Um, we have one back here. If you're not checking your actual alarm systems and all that frequently, your smoke detectors and changing those batteries out. I mean, I know guys who are changing their optics batteries out every 3 months because they're afraid that they're going to go out, and they're not even checking their their sensors until they start beeping at them. Which I guess is one strategy you could do. But there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, even if you maybe if you have door jams, if you're not even thinking about that stuff and you don't have door jams, which are very easy, simple solutions to make it harder for people to get in, or jams for your sliders. I mean, I have all that stuff. It's just extra layers of protection. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, and it all varies. Everything's different because I'm in California, you guys are in Tennessee. I mean, I know when I was in Pennsylvania, I was surprised, one, by the fact that a lot of homes didn't have fences around them, and a lot of people left their doors just unlocked all the time, which is unheard of from where I come. Like, you lock your doors, you double check all of your windows, all of your doors before you go to bed. So it's different. It's all nuanced based on where you are and your scenario.
I had the keys. I mean, I live in Johnson City, Tennessee. If you want to come find me, I'm here. Let's go out and have a conversation over a cheeseburger. I left the keys in my Jeep for 4.5 years at one point. Didn't even take them out of the Jeep. I mean, the doors were never on the Jeep, and I figured if they're going to get in, they're going to get in. So just leave the key in the ignition. And that's a foreign concept. But I mean, there's other people that have foreign concepts that, like, there's still people in America that have guns in the back window of their truck just hanging there. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all.
I bet your car insurance company loves to hear that right now.
That is, I have since changed. I now lock my car doors very responsibly. I think one thing that's important is that what works for you doesn't work for me, and it's so different. Years ago, rest in peace, we love him, James Yeager. I was watching a podcast with James Yeager, and some guys were, and again, 13th time, we like buying stuff. I bought a kukri this week. Did I need a kukri? No. Yes. I needed a new kukri. And we were in that podcast. Some people were saying, "Hey, James, what do I need to buy? Tell me the brand of gun. I need to level up. Tell me this." And he said, "Stop, man. Just stop. We're not talking brands today. We're talking strategy." Terrible James Yeager imitation, but it's so true. And it's hard for folks, at our ages. We have a little more discretionary income than we used to. And I like buying stuff, but I need to think more about tactics. And I think it's very healthy to stop and go, dryer lint.
Yeah. Mindset is a big thing that people overlook a lot, is mindset.
Speaking of my Jeep and cars, tell me about mindset in your vehicle. I love talking vehicle stuff and vehicle thoughts. What's in your, I know what's in your car. Tell me what's in your
car. A small SWAT team is in my car.
You and I rode around. Remember the great International Day of Jihad that didn't happen?
You guys need to tell them about that, because that was a very funny and interesting conversation that we had in the group chat, where everybody was talking about, okay, what are you rolling with today? And pictures are being sent. That was like 2 guys that day were like, I've been preparing for this my entire life.
It is absolutely go time. For folks that don't remember, after all that bull crap happened at the music festival in Israel, some horrible stuff, there were knuckleheads that said, "Hey, it's now International Day of Jihad, and we're coming for you, rural America." And rural America high-fived, and like, we're ready to rock and roll. We've been waiting on this. All you heard was with our night vision. And so everybody was sending messages and posting on Instagram. Jared rolled up here, and we just went out to lunch, and we rolled with probably 200 pounds of gear.
At least. And for people who are listening, I want you to think, like, you see those or hear those stories in the news where somebody was caught with like 5 guns and 5,000 rounds, and it was an arsenal. If that's an arsenal, we had a
battalion.
We had a battalion in my truck. Backups for backups.
Night vision at 2 PM. We had full night vision ready to go.
Reloads for days, armor.
Oh, I was so ready. I was amped up. I had 13 magazines all loaded up, ready to go. And you know what happened? Diddly.
Yeah.
Diddly. It's fun. Is it good to have dry runs, though? Is it good to have dry runs?
Yeah, I mean, that's most of that loadout that I had was similar to like how I rode just about every day of my life when I was on a team. It's just something we did.
So you had how you rode when you were a cop. You had how you and I rode during International Day of go get pizza and nothing happens with 200 pounds of gear in a bag. What are you doing on random Tuesday now? How are you thinking through with your regular vehicle in real life, regular Monday through Friday?
I always have a pistol of some sort on me. It changes depending on what I am loving more at that moment in my safe. A couple mags, just because if one goes down, you need to have a replacement. And if you run out of seeds, you need more. Although that is statistically rare, but why not? And I will generally have a rifle or a PCC, a pistol caliber carbine.
You carry a rifle? I didn't know that. You carry a rifle day to day?
Yeah, in the trunk.
Okay, I like that. And so you've got that loaded out. You've got
Yeah,
mags and the whole thing.
Yeah, I got a spot where it's hard to find it, but I have usually a reload or two. But then on the and I changed my backpack because this is the podcast backpack. But in my typical backpacks I run with, I usually have a life straw, which if you don't have a life straw, get one or three. You can get them at Sam's and Walmart now.
Costco had deals a while back where they're super stupid cheap for like 7 of them. I got a
Yeah,
bunch.
it's crazy, and you can drink out of a mud puddle and not have any sediment come in. And it's clean water, and that's something that people overlook a lot. Like you need water. You can get cold and survive, but you can't not drink for long and survive. So I usually have one of those, two of those, and then some snacks like a meat snack or something like that, like Slim Jim or whatever, just to have some type of protein to keep some calories in you, and then sometimes clothes, so depending on the season, some gloves or a hat. But
Yeah, I can remember years ago, dad taught me in the wintertime, be able to walk a couple miles because our roads can get bad occasionally. And I've had to do it one time. I know, Jared, if those of y'all that are on podcast, Jared is making faces saying, oh, the roads are never bad. I'm from Massachusetts. It's not okay. You didn't live in Iceland, Cupcake. Our roads get bad
Isn't Iceland green?
occasionally.
yeah, Iceland is green.
Iceland is green. But I've had to walk a couple miles, and dad always says this, now keep you some winter shoes in the car because we run around in tennis shoes all the time. And he always says to have boots. And I actually, about a month ago, ended up having to use them. So I think thinking through inclement weather, but it's not insanity. It's just a few extra things, some snacks, some water in case you have to spend the night in a car. Anthony, Monday through Friday, what's your vehicle look like?
So, it's of course, again, everything's going to be dependent because what you guys can do in Tennessee is going to be drastically different than my setup in California. Because we have a lot of transportation restrictions on firearms and things of that nature, and there's very specific ways that you have to have certain things in California. So, of course, on any given day to day, I have my EDC on me. Usually, it's a Glock 19 with my light, my optic on it. My magazine. I'll have a spare mag on me as well because usually I'll run an appendix. Right now, I'm running the Modern Samurai Project Tier 1 concealment holster. So I'll have a spare mag with me on that. I run, see, even in my pocket right now. Usually, so my lights and knives usually will rotate. Right now, I'm going like super small. So I'll have like a stream light, little micro stream. Right now,
Streamlight Twinsies. Check that out, Anthony. For those of y'all
yeah,
on podcast, I just pulled the same exact light out of my pocket. We didn't plan this. This is media at the peak level. I smell
media.
a Pulitzer.
Yeah, and so usually I just switched these maybe 2 days ago. I've been running the Kershaw Iridium and then a Streamlight Macro Stream, which is the bigger one of this. Um, but I just decided I want to go smaller, so then I switched to this Benchmade. I don't know what this one is. The Benchmade Osborne. It's the little mini Osborne. So really, really small. And then I'll just have my wallet and all that the other stuff. Now, what I have in my car, I have a soft body armor, which is from Safe Life Defense. It's a soft body armor they sent me. It's rated up to allegedly kind of like level 4 esque. Supposed to be able to stop rifle rounds. Who knows? I know there's been tests out there. Whatever. At least I'd rather have something, and it's malleable and it's easy to have in the car. And I have that in a bag. And then I'll run. I don't have a rifle because California restrictions, and it makes it a little bit harder to run that with mags and all that stuff. But I'll have in that bag. I have and I've changed a little bit. I've had I used to run the Travis Haley kit. I mean, I don't know which specific one, but used to hold extra Glock mags. So if something really popped off where I had to throw body armor and then just throw a quick rig on top of me, I would have some extra mags. And that's pretty much what I run. I don't have, and it's something I'm going to try to play with and grow and adapt. And I've been, it's funny we bring up the vehicle thing because I literally yesterday watched 2 or 3 hours worth of nut and fancy videos about the vehicle setup. And when you're watching those 3 hour videos, you're in deep. He's talking about his get home bug out bag vehicle setups, and he's doing a whole series on that right now. So I watched like 3 hours of that, um, thinking about that very thing about okay, the vehicle. And his whole thing was it's not necessarily a bug out bag. It's a bag that sits dedicated in your vehicle that's supposed to, if you get stuck in your vehicle and you got to get from your vehicle to another point A on foot, what does that look like? So I'm going to maybe mess with that. But sometimes in the vehicle setup, my mindset is more not even geared towards getting home. It's more of like if I'm somewhere in my vehicle, if I'm at Walmart and I'm close to my vehicle and something pops off and I need armor and some extra mags, that's kind of where my mindset has been with the vehicle right now. Because I think it's going to be easier to maybe get to my home from walking from Walmart to my home than the other scenario. In the other scenario, maybe a little bit more concerned about. I don't know. What about you, Johnny? What do you run in your vehicle?
I change all the time because I'm on state property, and I know I'm wearing a shirt right now that says "disobey," and that's nice to say, but sometimes I do follow local, state, and federal regulations. And I was at a state prison. I spent the day at a state prison on Tuesday doing some instructional work. And what I roll onto that campus with, and I am subject to being searched at any time. And because of that, I'm rolling stuff in and out of my vehicle all the time. A lot of times it's just a EDC, a knife, and during nice weather, nothing else. I don't have a life straw. I got nothing because I'm rolling in and out. Give me a knife. Give me I've always got a flashlight, always got a
Yeah.
knife, always got a firearm. During other times where I think I'm going to be out for a couple days, I'm going to do a PCC and a lot of mags. I need to do better with food. I really do. One thing I do with road trips, I always plan on spending the night in the vehicle. Here's a big one. This is what's important. We always talk about the guns in the car. I always think half a tank is empty. I do not
Yeah.
get on the interstate with less than half a tank. I'm going to be able to spend 6 to 8 hours with that car running to be able to stay warm. And I don't see the gas light in my car. Like I do my best to never see the gas light in a vehicle. So rather than worrying about I need to do that more. I am always thinking about good tires, oil changes, and those sort of things to be able to get where I need to be. And it's a challenge. It really is because we're gearheads. Sometimes we need to think less about bullets and more about oil changes. And I think that's important for all of us to think through. All right, we're going to take a pause from bullets. And I know this is a challenge because we like talking bullets and guns, and we open with belt fed guys. How about if the zombie apocalypse hit and we had to just live for a long time? What about in your house? We've talked about cars. Jared, what's your house look like? Or how about what do you wish your house would look like? How long could you live in your house right now? Or what's your actual goal? How are you thinking through no power, no water? Anthony, take a deep breath. No Wi Fi. It's going to be a tough life. It's going to be tough, but none of the technology, yet you still have to live.
That's one thing we're working on slowly but surely. When we lived in Massachusetts, I had a large extra pantry with a ton of different food. I still have some survival food, which will get us through a couple weeks. But I need more. I need to restock my preserves. When we knew we were moving, we gave away most of it to there's a food pantry at a church across the street. We just stocked them, and we need to replenish that stuff. And I also, now that we have tubs, like in our home in New England, we had shower stalls basically. They make bladders that you can have on hand that if power goes out or whatever, you can fill that tub bladder up, and it takes the shape of the tub, and you have 100, 100, couple hundred gallons based off the way we're going to be doing it. So we'll have water. The food preserves will be getting there. I wish I had a garden going. We do have two elevated garden boxes that the my wife and my daughter are going to be working on this spring. But yeah, we need to do more. I mean, anybody who says that they're ready have either been doing this for a long time, like we mentioned James Yeager, like that dude was ready to go almost a whole year
Mhm.
without anything. But I need
Yeah,
to do better.
we have a mutual friend who I won't mention that all three of us know, and I'm not going to say who it is, but they are able to, and on paper, and they've got the spreadsheets and everything. They can live 6 years with 3,600 calories every 36 hours. And that's really, really interesting. And they've already got it dialed in. But the other thing, like we always think this, and I'm not a prepper. I did a video a while back called "I'm Not a Prepper," and right now is the moment where I actually let the entire world know, or at least the viewers know, and the audio know. And these chuckleheads, they know this. A couple weeks ago, I get a call from the Dr. Phil show. Who? The Dr. Phil show, the actual Dr. Phil show. And they're like, "Hey, Johnny, you did a video called I'm Not a Prepper." And they wanted me to come on the show and talk about why I'm not a prepper. And so I texted both of these chuckleheads, "Hey, I just got this call. I'm supposed to fly to Dallas in 24 hours and be on the Dr. Phil show. What should I do? Give me some advice." Did they give me advice? No, Jared and Anthony sent me memes and GIFs 35 straight minutes. To finally, I just blocked them. I hate
Catch me
both of you.
outside. How about that?
Cash me outside. How about that? I hate you both equally, but I've talked a lot about prepping, and my point is, I'm not a prepper. I don't want to be a prepper. I think when you say the words "I'm a prepper," you are now stacking dried macaroni in your basement, and I think that's a problem because I like the word prepared. And I want to be prepared for a 3-day power outage or a 3-month big, big problem. But I think a couple days would be really good. We always think food. We've obviously thought about bullets, but I was taught this: soap.
Mhm.
If there's a big one, you got to be thinking about soap. Anthony, what's your non macaroni and non dried beans preparation?
My non macaroni or beans. So like Jared, we all are imperfect and we all work on this. And lately, I've been kind of a little bit more on a kick of prepping, I guess you could say, or just trying to fill some holes in my setup. um, Obviously, you always have, and a lot of people don't account for this, just the standard stuff you have at your home, the cans and food and all that that is non-perishable that probably could last you a good while. I randomly saw a deal and I bought more actual survival food, those tubs, and I don't know how many I bought, maybe like 12, something like that. It was whatever the 6 month supply for an individual person was. I doubled that because they say that never actually lasts you, so you need to double up. So for two people, just because right now we don't have kids, it's just me and my wife. So that's what I prepare for. So just me and my wife, we have I don't know how many tubs of survival food, but the whole point would be to never get to that, because if you're getting to that survival food tub and you're cracking into that for your daily meals, it's things have gotten things have gotten dicey. If you get through all of your good cans out of your pantry, there's probably some if you've gotten through your actual macaroni and cheese boxes that are just randomly sitting in your pantry, things are interesting.
You got
Um,
problems.
yeah. As far as water, I've always been pretty solid on water esque. We stack water every single time. This is one of the things my dad had taught me. Every time you go to the store, every time you buy water and toilet paper, it's some degree every time. And it's never failed me. And I found how true that was when we had the great coof scare of 2020 or whatever. And everybody was making their crazy, crazy runs on Costco and Walmart, buying all the water and all the toilet paper for whatever reason. I didn't have to worry at all because I had so much more than I could ever think I could deal with. So we always have a ton of water bottles sitting around, and then we do the water subscription service where they bring you those giant, I don't know, 5 gallon jugs or whatever of water. Um, and mainly because I like that water, but it's also in the back of my mind extra water that we just have sitting around right now in the garage. I have like 8 or 9 of those big jugs just sitting around that we go through frequently, and they just rotate. And every month they come and change those out if we use some. And then I have, of course, the tub stuff. Like Jared said, I have that thing that drapes over the bathroom tub if I needed to fill the water from the tub. But again, if you're at that level, uh, things are dicey. So yeah, there's always a lot of stuff I could do better. I don't have a garden. I've never really done that. We don't have a ton of space to do the whole garden stuff. It's more of being dependent on what we have in the pantry and the random food we have around, and trying to fill that void. But it's evolving a lot, and I find my and I think like everybody, it always gets heightened going into election. That's when everybody starts to jump on the bandwagon again. And I'm not immune from that. I start stocking up on ammo. I start stocking up more on food and a lot of other stuff, water, and just trying to fill those holes that have been sitting for the last 3 4 years since the last election cycle. Those little voices start to pop up again. Hey, you need to address this. You need to address this, and that's kind of where I've been right now.
What about your new place? Have you put anything aside for a room to live off of?
A room to live off of, or to yeah, to have fun in. Yeah, and yes, the short answer is I just moved and I have already started making preparations. The thing that just gets me jazzed is I'm on a well, and it's tough. Like what works in one place doesn't work in another. And just hearing Anthony say I've been buying bottled water, and I'm like, we have so much water in East Tennessee that we've got water. And the people up in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and all that, they're like, can you just go out in your yard and get water? They don't even have
No.
to think about this.
Yeah, so that's actually, I want to point that out. Where I'm at in California. We suffer from droughts every single year. We have a huge water crisis, to the point where that's what a lot of this election stuff is based on. And I live in an ag area where a lot of the water is used up, and the water rights for some of these ags and dairies is a multi-million-dollar industry just to own the rights to certain canals and stuff. So we live in a basin that allegedly used to be a prehistoric lake, but now is just completely dried up. And in the summer, it gets up to 115 degrees here consecutively for months on end. And it turns into just a dry desert. And that's why we have so many fires here. So, I mean, yeah, the water concerns are drastically different. I wish I could
And
just go out back.
you've got concerns that I don't have. I've got a well now, and that's very exciting to me. I've got a little bit of space between me and the rest of the world that's got its own challenges. Yes, I'm putting stuff away, and there's things that I put away that now that I didn't used to put away. I love talking zombie apocalypse. Like, it's one of my favorite subjects. I love talking about which warlord are you going to join, because you're going to have to join a warlord. If you want to survive, pick your warlord carefully, or you may be the warlord. That's a whole other story. So choose who you hang out with carefully. I'm thinking about communication. I've got lithium battery walkie talkies to be able to communicate up to 5 miles. I think that's important. But somebody stopped me one time, because I always just think, that's what I stopped, and he said, "What about your place?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've got food. Like, I can live for about a year, maybe a year. One guy. I'm a single guy. I'm also available if anybody's out there. I'm lonely." But one single guy, yeah, I can live for a year. I've got enough food and water to live easy for a year. That's not a problem. I've got enough ammo to start World War VII. That's not a problem. Somebody stopped me and they said, "What about medications? What if you get cut and you get an infection? What are you going to do?" And I said, "Ooh, I'm blind as a bat. How many pair of contacts and contact solution do I have? Because my regular glasses are not fit for prime time. They're horrible." And so I use contacts. How long can we work on that? And then I mentioned soap a few minutes ago. Somebody was talking about soap one day. That is the thing that separates us from the Middle Ages. Was we learned that in the movie Donnie Darko, antiseptics is the one thing that separates us from the 19th century, from gangrene. And so I'm now, rather than food and bullets and water, Anthony's in a different water situation, but I'm thinking soap. I'm thinking batteries, lithium batteries. I'm thinking contacts, and I'm also thinking medication, because I got a couple of things that I deal with, nothing bad. But I'm old and creaky, Jared. How much ibuprofen can you stock up? I'm going to say not enough.
Yeah, that was one of the things we had and still have some of it in our pantry. We had a bunch of like wet wipes, so that takes you can take a shower with wet wipes. And if anybody is out there listening who wants a tip, rather than pay for like dude wipes or something similar, if you just buy baby wipes, they're 1/5 the cost, and you can buy them by the case. So we had cases of baby wipes. We had anti diuretic pills because that's a huge one, especially if you have to start drinking water out of a stream or something like that. We had a lot of candles for all kinds of things.
It is ungodly how many. I've got tea candles because they're cheap. I mean, I bought massive amounts of tea candles, and when I moved a couple weeks ago, I was like, I am ready. I am ready for a tea party. I have got so many. I think they're called votives,
Yes.
and I have got 1 billion votives. But I mean, we're not talking about trying to survive. You can live on a quart of water for 3 days and locked in your car and survive. We're talking about living. And somebody told me one time, and this is a wild one. This is a wild one. They said if you want to live and actually thrive, 35 gallons of water per person per day. And I've said that to other people before, and they're like, "That's insane. You can live on a quart a day or 2 quarts a day." And we're not talking about that. We're talking about being able to wash clothes, being able to have hygiene, being able to get our dead skin cells off of us. We're going to be brushing our teeth and actually trying to, like, I don't know, skin. I was going to say skin the neighbor's cat, but I don't want to be that vulgar. Finding a chicken. How about we find a chicken, we pluck the chicken and actually wash it and living hygienically. So my point is not just prepping and stacking up macaroni. It's that we're trying to prepare to be able to live. Anthony, is this insanity? But it's 2024. Like, is this just crazy, or is the government going to take care of us the rest of our lives?
Well, it's funny because like I don't like the term prepping just like you, Johnny, because it automatically has these weird connotations of everybody automatically going back to what 8 years ago when Discovery Channel was running the whole doomsday prepper thing all the time, 24/7 on any.
Cargo pants. Get you some
Yeah,
cargo pants and grow out a beard.
yeah, showing those people, and so everybody's autumn. But this is more of just like being a little bit more realistic, and it's something that I know us in the 2A community or just this community in general, we've kind of harped on for a long time. You have to be your own first responder. You have to be provide for you and yourself and not rely, you and your family, not rely on the government. Because, I mean, how many times over the last 4 or 5 years have we seen things just like that get really, really dicey? I mean, during the whole Coof era, look how many people who are anti-gun all of a sudden were lining up for hours outside of a gun store to buy their first firearm because they knew things were rush. Even like I just mentioned, a rush on Costco for people to buy up all the toilet paper and water because they didn't know what was going to happen. When there was all the riots and stuff, people, their businesses and their homes are getting broken into and destroyed. I mean, it what is that quote where it's where society is 8 or 9 meals away being set
We're
back.
9 meals away. Psychologically, we are 9 meals away. And because everybody's like, okay, if things break down, we're going to band together. No, no, no. Psychologically, and I got held under a pool one time, underwater in a pool one time, and I went fight or flight. And it is some scary. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but in that moment, you turn into a fighter, and the switch flipped. 9 meals, and this is harsh talk. I mentioned skinning the neighbor's cat. It gets much worse than that. If your children or your wife or you miss 9 meals in a row, it's not exactly nine, but somewhere in there, you will sharpen a stick and go to your neighbor's house and survive. And yeah, it's about 9 meals, Anthony, is what you're thinking of. We're talking about
Yeah,
the psychological flip.
yeah, that's interesting, and it's not to be doom and gloom, but it's in this community we are always focused on worst case scenario. That's why we carry firearms. It's worst case scenario. If we have to defend ourselves, we have a right to defend ourselves. And that's why I carry a firearm, to defend myself and my family. That's the same reason why I do all this other stuff, is because worst case scenario, when and if society breaks down in the US, because that's what I'm more focused on is the US, can I provide for me and my family? Um, and so that's what I focus on. I'm the same way of like I pray to God I'll never have to use my firearm in self defense. I pray that all this junk and gear and food that I store that has 50-year shelf life, I pray I never have to use it and it goes expired. Like, and
Tough question, Anthony. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to look in the mirror because for the 43rd time, I like buying bullets. When was the last time you went through a first aid class of any sort or practice with a tourniquet?
it's been a few years now that I've done a dedicated course, and that was something I need to address. And I've been as I'm starting to stack some courses, that was one of the things I was looking into doing is, and the other day I was actually looking at, is the way my mind works, that popped up, and I started looking at my community college of like, what does the certificate look like to become a certified EMT and paramedic, just on my spare time to do that. What's the cost, time, dedication, all that stuff, just because I was like, I don't want to have to exclusively rely all the time on going to these courses down to LA or whatever. Which there are some amazing courses that will teach you all that stuff. But my thought was like, okay, what does it look like to actually be certified yourself? So it's probably something I'm going to be doing. It's just more time constraint
Yeah, I
none for
want to go do
myself.
the Stop the Bleed. We don't live that far from the creator Skinny Medic, and I want to go take one of his Stop the Bleed classes. But they have Stop the Bleeds all over America, and I've never done one. I've done a lot of first aid, starting in the Boy Scouts all the way through. But Jared, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say I've not put a tourniquet on probably in over a year. And you and I, when we were at Thunder Ranch last summer, Heidi was taking our group in to do some first aid training in the living room, and you and I didn't go. We went and did something else. When was the last time you had a tourniquet on?
I did an event probably about a year ago where everybody did a stop the bleed refresh. I'm lucky where I was required to do that every 6 months. I was TCCC certified,
What
stuff
does
like
that
that.
mean?
What does it mean to be TCCC? It's the long and the short of it, without boring everybody, is that it's kind of like first responder plus a little bit. Like I can use a needle if you have a collapsed lung. I can fix that for you. And it's more like battlefield type medicine. Like if something happens in the field, I can help you in that time. I don't need a perfect environment, stuff like that. So because being a cop, you had to be a first responder certified anyway. And those of us who wanted to be just a little bit more high speed, we took the combat medic type class.
So I haven't done that. I've done, of course, the Boy Scouts and CPR and all that basic stuff, and I've done tourniquet training, and I mean, all of us need to do better. I think probably everybody listening, just about, we all need to do a little bit better. I think we need to work on it, something to think about. But what is something, because you've done, like, you can pop somebody in the lung with a needle, just like they did on Mad Max Fury Road. Sounds like a bad day. What's something that a regular person like me can do to get better and to level up? Because I'm probably never going to be an EMT, but what's something I can do to level up a little bit?
Uh, Learn your CPR. If you're not good with CPR, learn it. It's actually gotten a lot easier now. You don't have to worry if it's 15 compressions and 2 breaths. It's basically you just keep that blood moving through that body as long as you possibly can now, to try to keep the brain alive. That is something that everybody should have, is that type of training. And you can do that in a lot of places. A lot of the hospitals will do it regularly. Sometimes the American Red Cross will have classes like that as well. They're everywhere. You just got to look for them, and once you start looking for them, you'll see how prevalent they are.
Just
So we've
watch the
talked
Office
about,
episode.
you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. So we've talked about vehicles. We talked about nighttime in our home. We talked about daytime in our home. We talked about everything from water to soap and all of that stuff. How about our person? What are you guys carrying? Anthony talked a little bit about his day-to-day stuff, and I know we all carry a gun, like of course. But when you leave the house and you separate yourself from your home, your support structure, hopefully, I mean, communication's key. You're never away from your phone. You're never away from a firearm. But what else are you thinking? I'm going to go first on this one. I learned this a while back, and I learned this the hard way. Is my keys. My keys never leave my pocket. I mean, I am dead there in my pocket right now. I do not separate myself from the ability to get home. How you thinking through your everyday carry on your person, Jared?
I pat myself down every day before I leave the house. Wallet, gun, keys. I'm looking
Yeah.
for them. I don't have them. I
Do
find
the
it.
man do the man check. Wallet
Yeah,
keys.
wallet, gun, keys constantly. But lately, so we're blessed to have a very good friend, Jason Knight, who is a master bladesmith, and I've been following his lead. Like I'm carrying multiple blades now. Like I'll have my folder on one side, and I'll have another toy on the other side. So I have.
Why? Why do you carry multiple blades? I only have one knife. My knife that I have on me right now is a Jason Knight knife, name drop. But why two?
Two is one and one is none.
Why didn't you do that with your cell phone and your car keys though?
or your fire.
Um, and my firearm, yeah, I do have two firearms. I usually have my rifle in my car or a PCC. Keys, yeah, I don't because I have AAA. I just don't know. It's like when you see people who are really really good at whatever skill they're good at, you try to steal some of that for your own toy chest. And I've been hanging around with Jason a little bit, and I see the other night at your birthday, he had 3 or 4 knives on him. So I was like, huh.
Yeah, he kept pulling those things out, and then he has a dagger that he gave me a dagger from a birthday, and I'm just like I'm so in love with it. I'm afraid to use
Is
it.
that the Quicken?
It is. I
He
don't know
gave me
what it's
one too.
called.
The Quicken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's life is good with another Jason Knight knife, and I have one in my pocket right now. But that's interesting to me. That's why I pushed back. You're like, hey, I carry two knives, and I'm like, why? Who needs two? Nobody needs. You want them? I get it. We're talking bullets now. We're talking about gear and fun stuff. You want to carry two knives? I'm saying, do I really need to?
Well, one of the reasons I do it is I've found like my folder, I'll use it for everything. I'll cut a box open or whatever, and that really really dulls your knife. If you ever tried to touch your edge and test it, so I use one for utility, and the other one is in case I need to make you into a utility. So I want one that's going to be sharp and always ready to go, and the other one's just a utility type thing. If somebody says, "Hey, can I borrow a knife?" I'll give them my folder, but I'm not giving them my other one.
I have enough junk in my pockets. I'm going to push back and disagree on that one. I'm going to say keep your main knife sharp and don't have to, unless you just want to. But I think you just enjoy toys as much as I do. Anthony, walk me through your person and you doing the man check on yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty much like what I already said. We all always have a gun on us. I always carry a spare mag, not because I necessarily think that I'm going to make it through all that ammo, but mainly if there's a malfunction, I am way faster and just switching mags and clear malfunctions that way. That's how I've trained. That's how I train on the range. So that's mainly why I carry an extra mag. I do not carry two knives. There was a time when I was kind of on that bandwagon of, you have your utility knife and then you have your fighting knife. So I would have a
Is that
fixed
a
blade
thing?
and it
I've
is
never
it's a
heard
thing.
that before.
Yeah, it's a thing. And I think to each their own. My thought of why I moved away from that, one is I found myself always leaving the fixed blade at home. I found it less comfortable to wear and put on my belt every single day. So I would just leave it at home. I'm already running out of space and on my belt as it is, my EDC belt. And I mean, when you watch a lot of videos and people talk about stuff, if you get into a knife fight, you're going to get cut and another person's going to get cut. And if at the point of you going, and I guess this is just my thought process about it. If you're going to a fixed blade, you're at a lethal option. So why am I going to the blade as a lethal option instead of just going to the most effective lethal option, which is the firearm that I already carry every single day? I know that there's certain theories behind, but that's just how my brain works. If like, I'm going lethal, I'm going lethal. I'm not going to a fixed blade. I'm not unless it's just something I maybe already had out. And yeah, it's just the same stuff I always carry. I'm always have my phone on my keys. I have a handcuff key on it. Um, what else do I have on there? I have some random other things, some utility, like little gadgets for Phillips and flatheads, and then I also have a little O light, little tiny light, just in case I happen for some reason, which I never do. But if I forget, like my actual utility, at least I have something on my keychain. And then beyond that, not much. I always have a physical watch. I don't use digital watches on my wrist, mainly because I don't like Apple Watches. To my wife's chagrin, she loves her Apple Watch and has tried to buy me multiple Apple Watches and get me to use them, and I just never do. We always end up giving them to my father-in-law or someone else. But I always have a physical watch on me. I'm not cool like Jared and have all the coolness that he has, but I always have some sort of physical watch on me. And then beyond that, I think we talk about a lot about like mindset. We've talked a lot about mindset on here. Um, I think it's one thing that's overlooked a lot. I mean, a lot of people talk about less than lethal options. I don't carry mace or anything like that on me. One of the things I have invested in is actually knowing how to fight to some degree. I train jujitsu. I'm a blue belt in jujitsu. I'm not great by any means, but I do know if I get in a tussle with a man of my same size who has less training than me, I can defend myself. And I think that's something people should invest in. Whatever martial art or whatever defensive skill you choose, that's on you. Boxing, Muay Thai, jujitsu, wrestling, judo, I guess whatever you decide. But I think that's something people need to also think about and train in and take with them every single day, because it's not something physical, but it's something that could definitely save your life. And it could be maybe you're not going super lethal option, but you just get in a tussle. Men get in tussle, egos flare, stuff happens. Bad people are bad people. And if you get in a tussle with someone, make sure you can defend yourself. So
What I absolutely love is that we are at 4 tussles for the day. One Skinny the neighbor's cat and 4 tussles. Absolutely incredible. I love this stuff. Like, this stuff gets me going. We're talking about everyday stuff, things that we do every day in our lives. One thing that I do every day is I caffeinate. I wake up in the morning and I pump that caffeine. It is not a joke. It is a lifestyle. And I am proud to say that today's episode is brought to you by blackoutcoffee.com. Absolutely love Blackout Coffee. I started my day today, and that is the truth, with Blackout Coffee. You can go to blackoutcoffee.com/liberty and use the code Liberty, 20% off your first order. They got you covered. They got grounds, they got beans, and if you want to tussle with some caffeine, they've got you. blackoutcoffee.com/liberty. Use that code Liberty for 20% off. It's absolutely fantastic. You're going to be happy. Big thank you to the folks at Blackout Coffee.
I love it.
I thought you'd say .com. Okay. Big thank you to those folks. All right, we've talked about a lot of fun stuff. This next part's going to be it's going to be tough, but I am really proud of all 3 of us. We learned from the documentary Zombieland. We learned that rule 1 is cardio. And because I don't really like putting people in boxes. Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you a libertarian? I don't know. How about I'm just a human that really likes freedom a lot. But I will say it's safe to say that all 3 of us on some level are constitutional Republicans, or no, constitutional conservatives. Let me use that word. Anthony's got 1776 across his chest. You literally have the Constitution on your body tattooed, and I have the Constitution on my heart. And because of that, y'all, we've been busy because we go to work. Constitutionalists go to work in the morning, and I think all 3 of us on some level have sacrificed our health for wealth. On some level, we've been busy, we've been working, we've been through a lot of school, and it's been tough. But the good news, and I know all 3 of us have. Anthony, I saw you on Instagram the other day. You're looking doggone svelte. You're looking great. Jared, you've been killing it at the gym at 6 a.m. Is that your time every day?
I just started waking up at 5 a.m. now.
Oh, doing 5 a.m. now.
That's terrible.
Absolutely terrible. And I have, since our last episode, lost 5 pounds. We are all trying, and that's the cold, hard truth is it's fun to buy new stuff and post it on Instagram. But the harsh reality is that heart disease is the number 1 killer of white men, and that's just it. That's what's coming. Like it kills white women and people of all colors too, but white dudes especially in the South, where we eat garbage all the time.
Soda in the morning. I mean, I've interacted with some people, and you guys are y'all are off the hook.
Yes, we love the Mountain Dew, and don't disrespect my culture, Anthony. We're all doing better. Rule 1 is cardio. Jared, walk us through, because I've seen pictures. You fought for years and years and years, but then life and having multiple jobs and kids, it takes a toll on your body. You are in the middle of a comeback.
Yeah, back in the gym 6 days a week, trying to do the body recomp right now, going heavier on weights than I have since probably I was about 30.
And you're on full disability too. Like, you're a disabled cop and you're still lifting weights and doing it.
Yeah, I can't do squats and deadlifts like I used to. I can't have that much weight compressing my spine right now. But I'm doing everything else I can other than that. I'm on the treadmill 6 days a week now. And just trying to crush it. I do have to do better at the diet, because you can never outrun your diet. But I have 4 kids in the house. It just makes it harder, which means I have to work harder. But I'm not trying to be an Olympian competing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But what I'm trying to do is be the best me that I can be. And, I've been pushing back since mid-December is when I started. And the only time I missed was when I was at SHOT Show. And then last week I was, 10 days ago, sick as a dog. So I was kind of...
You feel better?
Yeah, I'm good now. It's just the flu killed me. it was a rough one. It made its way through the house. So
Anthony, what'd you think about my point that we have jobs and people work, and folks that work don't usually work on themselves as much as they should. I don't think it's selfish to say we all need to do better and maybe put aside some of the wealth, put aside some of the career advancement in order to not die at 51.
Yeah, this is I'm glad we jumped in this. We did not have this planned, and it's something that I've been really focused on over the last like year and a half. And it's because of exactly what you said, Johnny. I think for me there was a big wake up call. We went to the Gundys in Uvalde, the last one. And while we were there, we took a picture, me, Jared, and a couple other guys. And I saw that picture of me, and I could not believe that that was me. It was by far the biggest I've ever been in my life. I have no problem because I've told people I weighed what I saw on the scale, which probably wasn't the biggest, was 296. That's insane. I'm sure at some point with a big meal, I was 300 plus pounds. That's insane. I'm only 6 foot. On a good day, I'm 6 foot and a half. And so it was a wake up call. Like you said, I have sacrificed my health for a long time, for education, for money, for work, sacrificing for what I do on the YouTube channel, for family and all that stuff. And this last year was more of a mental shift of like, I got to do better. I mean, if I'm on this platform and I'm talking to people and just what we're talking about, the practicality of stuff right now, like, what's the point of having all this gear, rifles, plate carriers, all that stuff if I can't walk 3 miles, you know? So over the last year was got a fitness coach. Um, I hired him. We kind of went on a whole program over the last year. I think it's been like a year and 2 or 3 months now. He set the macros, workout plan, all that stuff. Checked in every single week with him. We talked about progress, did all of those things. Started to lose some weight over the last. In October 13th, I started 75 Hard, which is a program from Andy Frisella over at First Form, which is more of just a mental health or mental fitness. Or it's a mental challenge. It's not necessarily a weight loss challenge, but it's more of mental, where you do 2 workouts a day, one of them 45 minutes each. One has to be outside. You have to have a diet plan, and you have to, whatever diet plan you have to stick to. You have to drink a gallon of water every single day. You have to read 10 pages a day of a physical book of nonfiction. Um, and there's some other thing I keep off the top of my head, and I'm blanking on whatever else. And then so I did that for the 75 days. I finished into December. And then I just completed phase one of that, which is essentially all the 75 hard stuff, plus a cold shower, plus 8 critical tasks, plus 10 minutes of meditation every single day. So I've definitely been on a journey to try to fix a lot of the stuff that's compounded over the years. I've lost 50 plus pounds over the last, I mean, right now it's at like 55 pounds since probably, I think it was January or yeah, Gundy's was January, right? Of 2022 or whatever
yeah,
that was. So since then I've lost like 54 pounds. Um, at the very least, every single day, what I'm doing right now is walking twice a day, 45 minutes each, which equals out to about 12,000 steps, which is about like, I think 3.5 miles ish, depending on it. So that's kind of where I'm at. And you'd be surprised just even if you walk 12,000 steps a day, like what that can do for you. And sometimes I'm just walking, throw on a podcast or whatever, or when I have calls, just jump on calls and go on a walk. And then other times it's like get up super early in the morning, throw on a ruck or throw on my plate carrier. I put my sweater over it and just walk around for 45 minutes. So still something I'm trying to get better at. I need to get more aggressive with jujitsu because that's when I was the healthiest by far. That's when I was doing that like 5 or 6 times a day. But right now I'm more focused on less weight loss, but getting stronger. So I've been lifting a lot more. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Now I have the whole garage set up with a garage gym, which is nice.
Well, I am proud of all three of us. I think this conversation would have been different a year ago for all of us because we're busy, and I've eaten meals with you guys and we like to eat. Plus, one of the tough things within American culture is that we do unhealthy things for recreation. So when the three of us get together, we're going to have an adult beverage or we're going to have a cigar. And it's just things that take a toll on our body. And rule one is cardio. And I know that movie was a comedy, but it wasn't wrong. And so a friend of mine, this is a tough story. A friend of mine back in December got arrested, and he was drunk when it happened. And I enjoy beer. I'm a social drinker. Jared, you and I have had a few old fashions over the last few months, but it's never really been a problem. And for me, I like beer. I'm 6'5". I'm built like my mama, and I can handle the weight. My heart can't, my waist can't, but I don't look horrific. And, it's just kind of a double whammy. On one side, I need to take better care of my heart. And on the other, after seeing that friend of mine, it's just a bad situation. And for me, I just said, you know what? I'm going to do sober January. And just for fun, I just thought to see if I could do it. And because most people do sober January or sober February. And so I did it. And I'm like, holy smokes, I feel better and I don't have to pee twice in the night. And so then I did February. And I was like, holy smokes, I feel better and I don't have to pee twice in the night. And so here I am. And this is not some big plan. I don't, alcohol is not my problem. My problem is Mexican food. That's the problem. But I just laid off the beer a little bit and I feel great. And I've been moving a lot more. I've been eating 2 really clean meals a day. I had pot roast last night. So that was my awesome meal. But I want to say I'm proud of all three of us, and I don't think for the listeners and the viewers, I don't think we're getting preachy. Oh, you better turn into a vegan or else. Jared, I
No.
think it's just good. We all need to do a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have kids, and we want to be able to be around a lot longer so we can see them reach some of their goals and start their families. And that's the big thing that got me going again is I not only do I need to be a protector for them in the immediate, but I want to be there when they need me when I'm older. I mean, I lost my dad due to a motorcycle accident, but he was in the year prior to that got into the best shape he had been in about 20 years. And he was doing it for that reason, to be around a long time. So that's something like there is a reason out there for everybody to do better. Just find it and use it to your advantage.
We've had 4 tussles. We've skinned the neighbor's cat. We've talked about macaroni and dried beans. We've talked about, with our opening, was belt-fed machine guns and things that, thanks to the government, we can't currently own. At least we can't own with that attitude, as long as we are peasants and citizens. All right, let's talk about reality. Closing question, Anthony. One gun, like one actual gun. Are you going to choose? This is it. You can get all the magazines you want, but one, are you going to go pistol or you're going to go rifle for the zombie apocalypse? What and why?
For zombie apocalypse, yeah, I think I got to go rifle. Just for the range, for I'm picking. I know exactly because it's sitting right next to me. I'm grabbing my Sons of Liberty 13.9 pin and welded. That's got my night viz set up, all that. That's what I'm taking. It's short enough, and I know it runs. I've run it hard at courses, and I know it would survive the zombie apocalypse with me. I think I would need a little bit more capacity, not just for zombies, but just the madness of people that are going on, to where I'd want an AR. So yeah,
I'm going
I'm
to do
going AR.
absolutely the same. I'm going to do AR as well, Anthony. I agree with you there. I'm going to go a little bit shorter. I'm going to go with my short Banshee, and it's got all the stuff set up and fresh batteries on it at all time. And I've got 1 bazillion magazines. I'm going to go shorter just for maneuverability. I'm going to skip the pistol. Jared, what are you going with? Tell me why I'm right.
10.5 inch AR. Just because I've done a lot of house clearing in my life, and I'm really really good at it. And that's a weapon that I can still reach out and touch somebody if I have to. But it's really really good for up close and personal.
To everybody out there that's been listening, we really appreciate you. However you found us, thanks for doing it. Be prepared out there and maybe do a little DAM in cardio this week. We love you. We'll see you next time on the Liberty Lounge.